Let's kick off. So hello, everyone, and a very, very warm welcome to our Canva Live webinar today. For those who don't know, Canva Live is the home of workshops and webinars for you, our Canva community. To find out about upcoming events, you can visit canva.com/events to find a range of interactive content empowering our community to design. I'm Jess from Canva, and I'll be monitoring the chat today along with my colleagues and answering some of your questions. Today, we'll be taking you through how to leverage both Canva and LinkedIn to help you stand out in the digital world. We're joined by two experts today to take us through both how to create an eye-catching resume to grab the attention of any recruiter and how to rock your LinkedIn profile to make sure you're maximizing your digital presence. I'll let them introduce themselves. Over to you, Mike.
Hi, my name is Mike. I'm part of the talent acquisition team at Canva. So I'm a recruiter. So I'm someone who's looking through CVs all day. I've recruited in a number of different industries and role types and company types, but I'm really passionate about helping people like you level up your career, land your dream job. And I'll pass over to Owen from LinkedIn.
Awesome. Thanks, Mike. Hi, everyone. So nice to be part of this discussion. Love seeing all the countries on the line today. I'm from the UK, but worked in America, now live in Australia. So great to see so many places represented. My role at LinkedIn is actually to help companies hire really incredible talent from LinkedIn.com. Ultimately, we want to upskill people, make sure they have the skills they need for the future of their careers. So what I'll be talking a little bit about today is how you can optimize your LinkedIn profiles to really stand out and accelerate your career searches.
Awesome. So what is Canva? For those of you who haven't used Canva, it's a graphic design platform that makes it easy to design anything for free because our mission is to empower the whole world to design. Canva is stocked full of images, fonts, videos, and templates to help you get designing quickly. You can remove the background from photos, you can create presentations, create videos, voiceovers, and of course, create resumes and visuals for your LinkedIn profile. So you can get designing straight away at canva.com. So what do we have in store for you today? Well, a whole lot. First of all, we'll be hearing from Mike about how to make your CV stand out. He'll share insights into exactly what recruiters are looking for when scanning CVs. Then it's over to Owen to hear how you can maximize your LinkedIn profile and make sure you're getting the most out of all the features LinkedIn has to offer. Then we'll show you how to leverage a regular CV and turn it into a portfolio using Canva. So I know there was a question about that already. So that's where that bit comes in. And that's going to help you stand out from the crowd. And then we'll wrap up with some questions and resources for your further learning. So I'm going to hand it over to Mike for part one.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Jess. So really excited to share how to make your CV stand out. First, I wanted to start off with a question. And my question is this: what percentage of the workforce are looking for a job right now? Yeah, seeing some interesting responses. They're pretty high, 90%, 505%. So there was a study done last year in June by the Boston Consulting Group. And to give you a few stats leading up to the answer to this question, they found over surveying 10,000 knowledge workers in 6 countries that 93% of people wanted a flexible schedule, which I think is pretty obvious. 76% want flexibility in where they work. But in terms of the percentage of who is actually looking for a job or open to work, a huge 56% of the workforce is open to work right now, looking for jobs. That could be actively interviewing or just open on LinkedIn. Now, that's an important stat because that plays into how your chances lie when you're applying for jobs. And that's why we're talking about how to make your CV stand out. So let's jump into some strategies on how to do that. I wanted to ask another quick question. Again, what is the first thing a recruiter is going to look at when they're looking at your CV? In the first 0.5 seconds, where are their eyes drawn to? Skills, expertise? Yeah, interesting. Okay, work experience, visual layout, profile. Got some interesting answers there. Great discussion there. Personally, myself as a recruiter, the first thing I look at is your current job title and your current company. Those are usually the quickest ways to assess how relevant you are for the job that we're recruiting for. Now, that might change. That might vary from different people and how they screen and what they're looking at. But in most cases, that will be the first thing that someone's going to be looking at. So what I want to share with you today is some CV principles, because CV advice can be very interesting. There's a lot of experts that give really strong advice pointing towards one certain way that will work for every instances. But the truth is, It is very dependent on the industry you're in, the role you're going for, the company you're applying at, in terms of how your CV will be received. And also on a human level, each person is different in what they value as a good CV. So what I want to share is some principles that kind of go across all of these different industries, roles, and company types. And just to clarify too, I work at Canva, I'm recruiting for Canva in the marketing team, so I have this lens on. So some of my advice, you may need to take with a bit of a grain of salt too, and apply what's relevant for your industry there. So if we talk about these principles, the first one is learning about your target audience, then the purpose of a CV, and then finally we'll talk about the recruiter shopping list, a bit of a deep dive into the background of the recruitment process and how that helps you. So first question is, who is your target audience? This is a question that you need to think about when you're crafting your CV, because it does vary what you will put into your CV greatly, I would say. You need to think about, the first question is the size of the company. So you're applying for a company that is a global multinational company, then they will have a strong recruitment team. You'll be sending your CV into a recruiter, a talent acquisition expert who every day is screening CVs and reviewing profiles for the role. If you're applying for a smaller company, maybe less than 100 people, you're probably more likely to get received by someone in management. Maybe it's the owner of the company or the general manager. It could even be the team lead for whatever role speciality you're applying for. So if it's a development role, it might be the lead developers reviewing those CVs. Now, you might want to tweak how you're kind of talking to those different audiences. The other question you want to do is tailor your CV to the role. So what kind of role, what kind of industry are you in, and what's the company like that you're applying for? So say, for instance, if you're applying for a job at Canva, have a look at our website, have a look at our social media. We are a visual communication company. We want to see a highly creative visual CV. We don't just want to see a boring black and white static Word document. You're not going to be discriminated against because of that. But if you want to stand out, you want to think about presenting yourself in a way that is relevant to the role you're applying for. Or similarly, if you're applying for a role at a law firm or a big bank, you might not want to have big, bright, bold colors and floral themes all going through your CV. You'd want to keep it more formal, more corporate, less colors. Also, it depends on the kind of role you're applying for. If you're applying for a legal secretary role compared to a graphic designer role, I would then argue that they would very differ on how you go. So think about the kind of company, have a look at their social media, what's their kind of branding like, and you can kind of tailor your CV to have it similar in those aspects. Okay, next point is the purpose of your CV. Now, this is an interesting one because you spend so much time on this CV and it's so personal to you about who you are and putting all of yourself into this document. But the reality is the purpose of a CV, it's actually not about you as much as you think. It's actually, if you look at the reason you're presenting a document, it's because the company has a need. They have a need to fill a skills shortage or a talent shortage. And the only reason they're looking at that document you're presenting is because you might be the solution to that. So when you're crafting your CV, I want you to think about it this way. You don't have to put all of yourself into that CV. It's not really relevant. You don't have to worry about cramming all of your experience, all of your skills, all of the technologies you've ever used, all of the software. It doesn't really matter. The company's trying to find a specific person to do a specific job, and your CV needs to address that. So shift your focus there, and I think that'll help you refocus how you do things. Laszlo Bock says it this way. Think about it this way. The sole purpose of your resume is to get you an interview. So your CV and your resume is the doorway into the recruitment process. It's to get past the gatekeeper. Next question here is, should you have a photo in your CV? And I think we've already seen some questions that have popped up in the chat about this particular point. I see some people saying yes, some people saying no. It depends. Great points. Yep, absolutely. No, unless not recommended. Depends. No. Yes, definitely. Okay, this is a divisive topic. Actually, even in our recruitment team, in the Canva talent team, different colleagues differ on whether they think you should put a photo in your CV or not. Personally, in my opinion, I think most of the time, yes, it is a good idea to put a CV in, but I'll go through a little bit of the pros and cons. So you can make up your mind and make a decision on what's best for you. So first off, when it comes to the pros for having a photo in your CV, a photo helps to create a more personal connection. So when I'm a recruiter and I'm flicking through CVs, next, having a photo helps connect me to a human, helps me remind me that there's a human on the other end of this application. It's not just a static list of skills and docs and experience. I'm looking at a person's who's applying for this job, and it helps make a personal connection there. Second point is a photo tells 1,000 words. So you can convey a lot that you can't convey in a static Word document with a photo. So if you have a big, warm, friendly smile, a confident in your own skin, that communicates a lot in a CV that you can't just communicate through just text alone. And the final thing, I think that one of the key pros for having a photo in your CV is just from a memory point of view. As a recruiter, I actually have a really bad memory, but for me, I will remember a face. I'll remember a photo when someone tries to connect with me on LinkedIn, or if I'm interviewing them, it'll connect that stream with their connection through the application process. When I'm reviewing CVs, I actually never look at names. So, your name on your CV is completely almost irrelevant because it doesn't determine in any way whether you're going to get a job or not. But having a photo helps me connect who you actually are as a person. Some of the cons, though, there are potentials for bias against, age or race or gender. Now, this should never happen. Let's just be clear. There should never be any discrimination, any bias in any company in the recruitment process is based on any of those factors. But, sometimes those things, unconscious bias is an issue in recruitment. So you need to weigh up the pros and cons, whether that is a risk for you. It's a personal choice. If you are going to have a photo, a couple of key points: keep it professional, keep it small. Don't have half your CV as a massive, big glamour shot of you. Unless you're applying for a model position, have a good quality photo, not a selfie. Again, you can kind of tailor this to the kind of job you're applying for. If you have a photo in your CV applying for Canva, by all means, put your dog in that photo. We love to see that kind of stuff. You can be riding your skateboard. Or if you're applying at a bank, then wear a tie, keep it professional, keep it very simple, but don't go overboard with getting too creative with what you've got there. Canva has a really good background remover tool. If you don't have a really good professional headshot, you can use that tool and that will help you there as well. Moving on to the next point, what goes into a CV? I want you to think about these 3 concepts when you're crafting your CV: tick lists, red flags, and question marks. So when a hiring manager, a recruiter, or a business owner is reviewing a CVs, this is usually the 3 kind of pools of thought they have when they're going through the CV. First off is their shopping list. They've got a shopping list of what they need in their company right now. That'll include things like their skills, the software, the experience, the industry experience, all of those kind of things. That list is usually pretty long. When I'm actually chatting with a hiring manager, I'll usually get their massive list, take it all down, but then I'll ask them, what are the top 3 things you really need in this position? If we had to boil it down, I want you to, when you're thinking and you're applying for a job and you're looking at the job description, try and do that yourself and boil down what are the top 3 things this person really wants to see, and make them stand out in your CV. Make them bold, make them big, put them as badges in your CV, make it up the top of your CV, not hidden down the bottom. So that checklist, you want to think through that. What are the red flags? First red flags would be logistics. So simple things like your location, your right to work in the country, and your salary expectations. If those 3 logistics are obviously not met or wrong according to the job you're going for, then you're probably not going to make it through to the next stage of the recruitment process. Other red flags could be gap in core requirements in the number of years, or it could be a specific industry that they really need you to have experience in. And when it comes to questions, they're not red flags. They're more so questions about your skills and ability to process. It might be something that you haven't fully outlined in your CV well enough. It could be your work style. Things like if you're applying for a job at a big corporate company and you've only had experience in smaller startups, can you deal with a highly regimented, process-driven organization? Or vice versa, if you've only come from big corporate and you're applying for a startup or a tech scale-up, can you deal with ambiguity? Can you work without rigid frameworks all around you? And what are your work motivations? What would motivate you and engage you about this role? That could be a question. At the moment, I'm seeing a lot of really senior candidates in the market that are actually applying for roles that are maybe 1 or 2 steps below where they would kind of typically be in the market. So for me, that's a question mark. What's your motivation in applying for a role that's a step down for you in terms of the level and the grading? What's motivating you to apply for that? These are question marks. So sometimes in your CV, you can answer these. Sometimes you need to jump on a call with a person to clarify those, to answer those. Okay, moving on to how to tell a compelling story. So when it comes to the actual content you want to put in, so you've got your work experience, then you put dot points under that. That content there, how to tell a compelling story, you want to follow the XYZ format. I think this is probably the best case scenario here. The XYZ format goes a little bit like this. Achieved X by doing Y with the result of Z. So what you want to do is you want to include real data. You want to tie it back to commercial outcomes and business goals. That just screams credibility from a recruitment point of view. It shows that you've made a huge impact in the company and you know your worth there. So what that looks like practically is, if you're in the marketing industry, instead of saying something like this, responsible for a variety of marketing duties, that's really, you're just listing a responsibility from your job description. That's not exciting. That's not compelling. It doesn't tell me anything. You can instead put a bit more data in it and write something like this. Achieved a 30% increase in our social audience by developing a compelling content strategy that led to a 5% increase to our online sales with a value of $3,500 in 6 months. So if you read that and you compare those, the second example obviously screams out the achievements and the actual dollar figure improvement that you've made. For me as a recruiter, that would make me excited to say, yeah, you know what you're talking about. You've obviously done this kind of stuff before and you'll be great at delivering straight away from the get-go. So if we move on to how to really stand out, what I'm seeing at the moment is there are some really highly sought after roles in the market. So while the talent market at the moment, there's a lot of talk about the talent market being really scarce and hard to find talent, but there is also really highly sought after roles that, companies are getting hundreds, in some cases, thousands of applicants applying to try and get into these roles. So that's why we want to put this webinar on, to help you stand out in that process, because you might be getting heaps of rejections. You might have a great CV already, but you're just not getting those interviews. If you want to stand out, here's two kind of tips that you can do that only 1% of the applicant pool is going to be doing. So you can use the concept of show me, don't tell me. Have a case study or portfolio of your work. We'll show you how to do this later. So you want to highlight some of the work, some of the projects that you're most proud of and share a snapshot of this. Canva is probably the best way to do this as well, because it generates an online web link, so you don't have to upload a separate PDF or whatever kind of portfolio you want to share. And this is not just for graphic designers as well. And the second thing you can do is to have video resumes. So again, less than 1% of people do this. Canva actually has a really great tool on your actual resume or your portfolio. You can create a video resume there. So when it comes to showing me, don't tell me, it's a great way to really demonstrate credibility, to visually communicate. So if you've got those dot points in your CV, the XYZ format, having a case study, you can expand on those, show them what the work was actually that you were doing there. Okay, a few CV best practices. When it comes to how you craft your CV, my advice is to take a targeted approach of your job search. If you're trying to get into high demand jobs, have a default CV. So this can be a more time consuming way to do it. But what I suggest is have a default CV. And this default CV could be in a Word document, could be just in notes on your page, on your computer. Have everything in there. Put all of your experience, all of the dot points, all of the skills, all of the software, absolutely everything in there. And then when it comes to actually crafting a CV that's more targeted, be ruthless and cut out 90% of all the content you have in your default CV and have only what's relevant. So don't take a spray and pray approach like a shotgun, but instead think of it like an arrow. So you may even want to have, maybe 3 versions of your CV, depending on the kind of role specifically that you're trying to get into. So for example, if you might have a CV for a project coordinator or a HR coordinator, and they can be kind of still targeted, but you can, for all the HR coordinator roles you're applying for, you've got that one CV. So you're not kind of starting from scratch every time. When planning out your CV, it's really important to gauge what matters most and how to get the most relevant info first. You've probably heard the stat that recruiters spend on average 5 to 10 seconds reviewing your CV. So you want to major on the major and minor on the minors. So what matters most? I've done a little bit of a hierarchy here for what I think matters most. And this can be a little bit subjective depending on the role, the industry, but I've tried to keep this fairly generic. So the first thing here, I think, that needs to stand out is your commercial experience, then the current role and title. After that would be the credibility of your work or the company that you work for. Next would be the results, the achievements, and the data. And after that, an example of your work. Then finally, at 6, we've got contact details. At this point, I would assume that's enough info for a recruiter to determine whether they want to call you. So they might want to call straight away or email there. After that, I'd have the skills and then the software and then your education, finally down almost at the bottom, then volunteering and anything else all the way down the bottom. I will caveat, if you're graduating, if you're still in uni, then have your education up the top because that's what's most relevant there. So a few CV basics. Your CV should be appropriate for the company we've already mentioned. It needs to be scannable. So you want it well formatted, a clear font, not too cluttered, not too small. Another key thing when formatting your CV, you want it easy for someone to scan the dates. So color is absolutely fine, but keep it in line with the tone of voice. And a photo is fine, keep it professional, and we've already talked about that. A few other CV basics. People always ask me what is the best kind of format for a CV, and there's a lot of different templates, a lot of different ways to format a CV. I go to LinkedIn. I find LinkedIn it's the most popular online CV kind of platform in the world globally. And it, has a well-formatted layout. It's easy to see. There's plenty of white space. It's easy to scan. In fact, as a recruiter, 90% of the time, I'm looking at a CV and I'm clicking on the LinkedIn straight away to check that LinkedIn profile as well. So if I were you, don't use overly used Word templates. There are so many of these Word formatted CVs that are these templates that, they're like 20 years old. They're massively overused. And I want to address a couple of misconceptions too about CVs. And I saw some questions about this previously. Let me just dispel this myth. You're not going to get auto-rejected by an ATS or an artificial intelligence or Terminator if you have a formatted PDF CV. You don't need to stress. You can have a nice looking CV. You're not going to get auto-rejected. If you're a recruiter and, you are actually auto-rejecting people because of this, feel free to drop it in the comments. Let me know if I'm wrong. But look, that's not the case. What an applicant tracking system is, it's just software to handle the applicant system, handle the applicants and the CVs. A lot of applicant tracking systems try to scan the CVs and will try and present that in a consistent way so a recruiter can look at a consistent format all of the time. No ATS does that perfectly, and everyone's CVs are a little bit differently. So our team and most recruiters I know are actually going to still look at the physical PDF document that you're uploading. So you don't need to stress too much about that. You don't need a professional summary in your CV anymore. Sometimes it can be helpful and relevant to add some extra context, but don't feel the need to do that. And if you do put that in there, keep it nice and short and snappy. You don't need to include references in your CV anymore either. That's fine to leave to a further date. And what I would say is don't be afraid of having 2 to 3 pages in your CV, as long as it's scannable. Don't have huge, big pages and pages of text. No one's going to read it. Okay, move. And that's pretty much it for me.
We do have a couple of questions, actually, if I could just jump in there, Mike, while Owen shares his screen. I did have like 5 or more questions about the ATS. So that was great that you just jumped in there and dispelled all those myths about that straight away. We do have some questions around the best way to present your CV if you're currently unemployed, or if you're a career changer and maybe your experience doesn't speak directly to the industry that you're trying to get into. Do you have any tips?
Yeah, great question. Look, I'll say this as well. It is okay to have a career break in your CV. I know maybe 5 years ago, that was kind of really poo-pooed. People were trying to work around creative ways of not having any kind of career gap in there. Look, after the whole global pandemic, there's been just huge disruption. Everyone in recruitment that I know is totally okay with career breaks in CVs. It's not something you have to worry about. You don't have to fear having a gap in your CV anymore. If you feel the need to kind of qualify that a little bit, you can do that in some different ways. If you really want to try and fill something in there, I would try and find some freelancing or contracting work to put in there if you've been doing just some odd jobs around the place. But if you're applying for a role that is coming from a different industry, from a recruitment point of view, it is hard in a CV to really make that stand out as the most relevant person for the job. What I would try and do is I would try and connect with the recruiter on an outside of the applicant tracking system, outside of your CV to try and do that, or do a video cover letter or a video CV where you can talk to the requirements of the job and how you still got the crossover experience that's going to be relevant and helpful and even a value add outside of the normal person. You're kind of a left of field applicant, and sometimes left of field applicants, they're pure gold because you get what you'd never usually get coming from the traditional experience that you would predict. So yeah, don't necessarily see that as a bad thing, but you do need to communicate that in an effective way. Otherwise, it's just a big question mark or a red flag for a recruiter.
Awesome. Thanks, Mike. And just one last question. Do you have any advice on whether people should default to a 1-page or a 2-page resume?
Again, look, I don't think it really matters. If you can fit everything into 1 page, that's probably best because, if they have to scroll through 2 pages, sometimes things can get lost easier. So I would advise, if you haven't been in the work experience in the current industry for more than, less than 5 years. So I would say keep it on 1 page. If you've got more than 5 years experience, then feel free to go 2 to 3 pages. Just keep that formatting nice and scannable. I would be happy to scan through a 3 to 4 page CV. If it's laid out really nicely, dot points, it's easy to get the info that I want, but I'm just not going to read through 2 to 3 pages of bulk paragraph text.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for those answers, and we'll hand over straight away to you, Owen. Thanks.
Awesome. Thanks, Jessica. Thanks, Mike. That was great. I'm not looking for work right now, but I've picked up some really handy tips there, potentially for the future. So can we get a few yeses or nos in the chat? Who has a LinkedIn profile and who doesn't? I'm seeing some yeses coming up. Sam does, Mandy does. Awesome. Great. Loads of LinkedIn profiles. Anyone who doesn't, that's fine. We'll go through some tips on how you can set it up. Does anyone want to have a guess what they feel the most common action is on LinkedIn? So when we go onto LinkedIn, what's the most common activity that we see people doing? Liking, connecting, reactions, job searching. It's actually looking at other people's profiles. So the reason we're here today is to really help you all think about your profiles in your career search and how that can lead to different career opportunities. Most people say job seeking, and certainly that's a part of it, but think of your profile really as the front door for you from a professional standpoint. LinkedIn nowadays is a professional network of just over 830 million people. We're in most countries of the world. Throughout the pandemic, what we've seen is people signing up to LinkedIn growing at a much faster rate. You can see here we get 4 new signups every second, and every minute 4 people are getting hired. So this is a great place for anyone who is thinking about starting their career or perhaps making a shift in their career. This is a really good place to start. Mike talked a lot about job applications and the volume of applications that recruiters get these days. We, through LinkedIn.com, get about 100 applications a second going to different companies. So this is a really, really busy place and a busy job market. Does anyone want to have a guess or put your ideas in the chat? There's no real right or wrong answers here. What you feel a personal brand is. What does that term mean to you guys? Defining who you are. I really like that. Your personality, how you can stand out. These are really, really great ideas. If you Google this, you'll find a ton of different definitions. This is how we think about it at LinkedIn. It's your qualities, characteristics, and values that really express you on your profile. And you can actually build your brand presence by thinking about the content that you maybe post, share, interact with on LinkedIn. So bear this in mind, we will be sending you this afterwards, but think about companies are hiring people not just for the skills they have, but for the fit and the personality they'll bring to a team as well. And LinkedIn can really help you build and strengthen your personal brand into your hiring. When we look at a profile like this now, have a think, if you were a recruiter, you're working in a company, you're looking to build a team, what might this profile be missing? What types of things, if we look at this, could we maybe sort of tell a little bit more of our story? Skills and experience. Yeah, image, photo, definitely agree with that. We talked, obviously, Mike talked a lot about photos earlier. Description. Yeah, these are all really good themes. What we see here, this profile's really, there's not a huge amount on there, right? If we're looking at 100 different profiles and we can only pick 5 or 10 people for interview, we might struggle to think, well, tell me a bit more about this person. What do I really know about them? How can I really understand what they do and what benefit they may bring to my company? Now I'm going to show you an alternative. This is actually a colleague of mine who works at LinkedIn here in Sydney. Anyone want to highlight what looks different here? In what way is Hamy's profile? I'm seeing wow from Paul. I totally agree with you. There's some good wow factor going on here. Yep, colors, themes. We can see at the top, she's clearly passionate about International Women's Day in her banner image, headshot. Yep. Active. I really like that. That's exactly right. You look at the activity section, she's got followers, she's commenting, she's sharing things. So whether she's looking for work or not, in a job market, she's actually going to stand out. And that's exactly what LinkedIn can help you all do, help you sort of really open up the door to different career opportunities and ideally get your resume or your CV in front of the right people in the right company. Family person, Percy, totally love that and absolutely agree with you. So what we'll do now is we'll walk through a couple of different things that you can all do. Anyone who wants to set up a LinkedIn.com profile, they're totally free to really sort of help you stand out in the crowd. We've talked about the first one, and I was reading the comments there, so really interesting to see different people's views. It does vary by country. Because LinkedIn, we're not really a job site, we're actually a networking site. We do recommend people put up a photo image. It's completely your choice, and it's totally optional. And you also have a setting just to have your photo showing to connections or people in your network if you like. But for those who are perhaps, looking to either make a career change or looking to apply for roles, Mike even mentioned, Lisa, the first thing he'll often do is go and look at the LinkedIn profile. You can see some pretty compelling stats here. 9 times more connection requests, 36 times more messages. So if we're really looking to get in front of recruiters and companies and make a really good impression to potential future hiring managers, having a professional headshot up there is something we'd recommend. Super easy. You can do it on your smartphone. You don't need a professional photographer. And again, think about the industry that you're going into. If it's banking and finance, you probably want something more professional, like the example here. For some of the industries, you may want something more casual, and that's totally your choice. Next, I'm using myself as an example. That's either a good or a bad thing. Think about your headline. So right underneath your title, you'll see mine says helping companies transform, grow, and thrive. That's not my job description. That's not my title here, but that's what I'm doing for a living. I'm helping companies build their workforces, open to new markets, be more diverse, think about sustainability. So what I'm doing there is I'm really telling my story in ways that isn't necessarily my job title. You are totally welcome to put project manager if you like, if you're a project manager. But again, in a busy market and where people like Mike are really busy in the roles and looking at lots of resumes, you may want to put something a little bit more eye-catching and compelling just to help you stand out and to help you make that impression when someone's perhaps looking at your profile. The next piece, and this is typically where people spend quite a lot of time. We at LinkedIn spend lots of time one-on-one with executives and companies, helping them draft and think through their summary. We don't want this to be too long. This is not a huge paragraph of text because people don't have too much time to read. Often they'll be looking on a smartphone, but think, what if you were to boil it down to sort of 3 to 4 sentences, what are the real most compelling things that talk about you, the value that you would bring to an organization or a team, and what's important to you in your career? So this is an example that we think reads really, really well. The person's talking about their experience. They talk about leadership. They talk about things that they're passionate about outside of their day-to-day. It's really starting to tell the story. I'm seeing a question in the chat from Alicia. Is it optional? It's definitely optional. It's something we would recommend. What we often say to companies is buddy up with someone. So for those perhaps earlier in their career on the call, maybe you've got someone you study with, maybe you've got a friend you did an internship or some volunteering with. Take some time and think, what's my story? What's my unique value? And what story do I want to tell? So if you're looking to move into a different industry, think about what's happening in that industry. What important things might a manager care about? If you're going to a different part of the world, think about perhaps language and cultural nuances. So take your time here. And this is an evolving thing. It's not really a once and done. You're going to want to write it and you're probably going to modify it and edit over time. But certainly get with a friend or a buddy if you want some help on how to write a compelling summary. Next is actual job description. I was reading some of the comments earlier in Mike's section. I think we have some people who are early in their career. Don't worry. If you haven't got years and years of work experience, that's totally fine. You've probably got some internships. You've probably done some volunteering. You've maybe done some unpaid work. Maybe you've done projects through a university or school. We want to hear about all of that, right? And you'll see the different sections as you start to build your profile out. So tell your story as best and as comprehensively as you can. Like how Mike was saying, think about not just what you did, but what value that created and what specific skills you have. Your LinkedIn profile isn't really a CV or a resume. So we actually think about telling your story in short paragraphs, like you can see here, versus perhaps in a bullet pointed format, which you might tend to put more on a CV. So think about it. If you do have a lot of work experience, you don't have to put everything on. You may want to put your most recent sort of 3 or 4 jobs and then leave the rest out. Again, totally up to you. We also, a question did come up around career breaks and so on. We actually have an option to record career breaks, and certainly we would encourage people to do that. Obviously, lots of lives have been interrupted over the past few years with the pandemic. So we recognize that, and we have a filter that you can add a career break if you would like to. Writing and requesting recommendations, super important. And what we see in the job market is, yes, you can tell your story on your profile, and we want you to be authentic and use your own voice and your own words. But it's really, really powerful for recruiters, hiring managers, other companies you may be looking at, to perhaps hear a little bit about you from a third party. So if you go to my profile, you'll see I've written recommendations for people I work with at LinkedIn. You'll see I've probably written them for people I work with in my external partner companies, people earlier in my career, people from my university days, and vice versa. So have a think. Is there someone you helped on a project that you might want to reach out to them and ask if they'd be kind enough to write a recommendation? Is there someone who perhaps mentored you at university? All these types of things, and think if you're going to offer to write a recommendation for someone, they may want to write one back. So think, who are those people that maybe you've helped them in their career or in their work, or who's been impactful for you? And then you can obviously go and write or request a recommendation. So those are really the main steps to build out your profile. Think about it, take your time, definitely connect with a friend. If you'd like to get some feedback, how does it look? How does it read? Is it easy to see? The next thing is like, what could you do now, right? You've got a profile. So the first thing we would say is really make LinkedIn work for you and make it useful. And the first thing you can do to do that is think about where you're trying to go with your career, and let's align your newsfeed to that. So if you really want to work in, for example, the tech industry in San Francisco, I would recommend you probably go and follow companies like Google and like Facebook and like Amazon, organizations that you might be interested in. And then your newsfeed is going to start filling up with information from those companies. If there's leaders in those companies that you find inspiring or influential and you want to be in the team, you can go and look at the profiles, you can go and follow them, you can see what they're talking about. If your industry has influencers, people making sort of groundbreaking change or building new companies, these are great people, again, to go ahead and click the follow button on the profile. And every time you go in, whether it's on your mobile or your desktop, you're going to start to see what these people are talking about. The second point is about your network. We all have a professional network. Some of you who are newer to this are going to be building it, and that's going to take time, but that's okay. If we're looking to join different companies or industries, I would recommend really think long and hard about your network. The stat on the middle of the screen here is super compelling. Referral hires are 9 times more likely to get hired. So have a think, do I know someone in that company? Is there someone that I perhaps knew through earlier in my life that might work there that could give me a route in? Is there someone that I know through my family connection that could help me find a bridge? Really think long and hard about that, because that's definitely going to help you. If you have a target company or industry you want to go into, finding a referral route is going to help you and help the organization. I would say to everyone, be bold. Intrinsically, most human beings are kind and helpful people. If you were to reach out to someone and ask if they might be able to help you get an introduction or learn more about a company or learn a little bit more about a role, most people will actually help you. So through the LinkedIn Messenger tool, you can reach out to people directly, think about your messaging tone, what you're asking for, but I would encourage everyone just to be bold, and you'll find people will help you on this platform. And the last is have fun. Career seeking can be stressful. It can be demoralizing sometimes when you don't hear back or it takes a long time to hear back. So be bold, don't be afraid to follow up, and do enjoy it. There's so much information out there and people who will help you, and good luck.
Fantastic. Thanks so much, Owen. So I saw that you were reading through a lot of the questions in the chat. So you have, in fact, answered a lot of the questions that were coming through, but I do have a couple more for you. Some people were asking, would cold contacting be a good strategy on LinkedIn? If you do have a company that you want to work for, is it okay to kind of message them directly?
I would say yes, if you're thoughtful and if you've done your research. So if you reach out to someone cold and say, hey, can I have a call with you? They're probably going to ignore it because they won't know who you are. They won't know what it is that you want to talk about. But if you're thoughtful, I'm really interested in joining this job. I've just finished my degree. I have these skills that I can see you're looking for. If you think about your outreach and write it in a polite, sort of approachable way, you're definitely going to get a response.
And for the early career starters on the call with us today, someone wrote, as a recent graduate with little experience so far, is it okay to use work done in class to show what they are learning or have learned or achieved?
Yeah, I think I would say go for that. You know, where we're at that early point, you want to show, think about the skills that you've developed from doing those classes. So you'll see when you build your profile, there's a skills section and you can add, is it problem solving? Is it maths? Is it software engineering? You can add skills. People can endorse you for them. So I think it's a great start point for those earlier in their career. So companies can see kind of what you've done and what you're going to be able to do.
Okay, great. And you mentioned getting recommendations. Someone was asking, like, what is the best way to ask for a recommendation from your peers?
I personally will message the person first and say, I'd love for you to write a recommendation on me. Perhaps if we've just completed a project and I've been helping that person on the project, I would probably write to them and saying, I've really enjoyed working with you. I would love it if you could spend 2 or 3 minutes writing a recommendation. I would reach out first to ask. And then there's actually a link in LinkedIn. You can sort of send them a formal request, but I think it's courtesy to ask the person first. And if it's been a two-way thing, like offer to write them one back. Say, I'd love for you to say a few words to me. This is how you've helped me. And I really would like to write you a recommendation also.
Okay, perfect. That wraps it up for questions at the moment. Thanks.
Cool, thank you.
So that's going to take us on to part 3, which is all about designing in Canva. So we've heard how important it is to get the right content into your CV and into your LinkedIn profile. But another way to help you stand out from the crowd is to translate that information into a digital portfolio. So this gives you a chance to show examples of your work. You might think that digital portfolios are only suitable if you're applying for creative roles, but really they can support any type of job application. So we asked our designer, Nano, to show us how he would use Canva to create a portfolio to support the CV of Lee Andrews, who is a marketing assistant that we have invented for this session, to showcase projects that Lee has worked on. So we have a video for you coming up showing just how to do that.
Hi, I am Nano. I am a graphic designer here at Canva, and today I'm going to show you how to create a beautiful portfolio in just a few easy steps. So step number 1 will be searching for a template. So we jump into Canva and in the search bar we type portfolio. And then from here you can just use the filters and pick whatever you want. Doesn't really matter as long as it represents your personality. Let's just pick this one. And now we have here a beautiful pre-designed portfolio. So step number 2 will be adding your own personality. In this case, we have a CV from Lee Andrews here that it's got a very vibrant look and feel. So I think we should be making this black and white template a bit more vibrant and maybe using the same colors and typefaces. And I think that will be a very good starting point to make it look a little bit more in line with your personality. So bear with me, I'm just going to tweak a couple of pages, show you what can be done to show your personality.
So it's interesting to see here how Nano is taking the colors and I guess the personal branding from the CV and replicating that in the digital portfolio. Mike, do you think that's really important to have that consistency across both?
I think it really helps, especially if you're a designer, it shows a good brand understanding. But I was going to say, you can even do this across your LinkedIn profile as well, do a similar kind of personal brand across all 3.
Yeah. I think consistency really helps to give a good impression.
Okay, so what I've done here is just bring some of those colors over that obviously represent that personality that I was telling you about. So I've changed the background colors and the copy colors, and we are in a very good position now to start adding our own copy and our own images. But before that, for step number 3, I suggest you collect all your visual assets, those images, logos, all those examples of your work that you need for your portfolio, and upload them into Canva. It's easy, just press the upload icon in your editor, then upload media, and that will take you to your folders. And I've got here a lot of Facebook posts, LinkedIn images, everything. So I'm gonna upload it all and have it all ready for step number 4. All right, so step number 4 will be working on your copy and on your layouts. So we've got a very clear layout here that you can take as an example or as a guide and work out your own layouts. I would also suggest you having your copy already written in a separate document so it's easier, and then just place all your examples and your copy into your layout, and it will look something like this. And here I am. I've just placed all my copy. I've reworked all the titles, and I placed all the visual examples that I was telling you about. So it's all here, and I've taken as a base the template that we have chosen. Step number 5 will be to finesse our portfolio. So in this case, I think, for example, we should be adding a little bit of an intro here that I've got already written. Just gonna paste it and make sure that we have everything on brand. Yeah, so we're just finessing every page and make sure that everything is consistent. So we've got everything nice and clear over there, everything clear over there, and make sure that you spot any other little thing that might need finessing. So I'm just gonna put here his name. Maybe I can even use this typeface that I like more than this one. And again, you can just finesse it a little bit, that extra 5% to suit your style. And I think we are done with our portfolio. So the way you want to share it is click and share website, and I'm gonna show you how it will look like. You can pick any of the web styles. I'm just gonna do scrolling, open website, and you just scroll down and you can see all your work in here. And the way to share it will be just by copying this link and sending it to whoever you want. And that's it. It's that simple.
Nano shared this portfolio. You can see in Canva there's a variety of different options actually he could have picked. So maybe it would work better for you to download this slide deck as a PDF format and then send that directly via email or upload that directly with your application. But often there's not the opportunity to do that. So being able to share a web link live to your portfolio is a really great way of doing that without having to build a website and work out hosting and all of those kind of tricky things there. So a couple of things I just wanted to jump on here that I really liked. First off, he's got a really brief overview page introducing himself. And then his first page that you can see here about the projects, he summarizes it all in one easy snapshot. He talks about results straight away. So if I'm recruiting and I don't have much time, I don't have to read in detail about all of the projects. I can see straight away some of the results. And if you look at how he highlights on this page here, he talks about some of the results, and he's got in bold little badges on here some of the key metrics, like 20% increase, 10K revenue increase. Again, they are really standout metrics that really help a recruiter with the credibility and the accomplishments that you've done. He provides context about the kind of roles and projects he was working on. And there's a good balance of visuals and writing. I know this can be a little bit harder in some industries to show visually, but having some kind of accompaniment of visuals with the writing of your case study can really help. So that's pretty much all that I guess wanted to comment on from his portfolio.
Fantastic. Well, that just about wraps things up for today. So we do have a little time for more questions. If you have any burning questions, feel free to pop them in the chat. I do have a quick question for you, Mike, which was from Tarek, who liked the idea of tailoring the CV to the role specifically, and how the CV is about the job more than the person. But how do you address applying to two different roles in the same organization? And so the recruiter might see two versions of your CV. Does that matter?
Yeah, that's a great question. Look, it really depends on the kind of company you're going for and what systems they're using. What I would try and do is try and connect with the recruiter directly. So have a look on LinkedIn, do a bit of networking, find out who in that company is a talent acquisition specialist or a recruiter or in HR, and try and connect with that person directly and clarify that. Otherwise, you can have them, it's totally fine to have those CVs exactly the same, applying for two different roles, or it's totally fine to have two different versions of your CV, as long as you're not raising questions about the credibility. So if there's obvious differences about the kind of years in different roles, and the recruiter thinks you might be, embellishing the facts a little bit in some instances, then that's a huge red flag. But if you're just highlighting different parts of your skill set, that's totally fine to have two different CVs. That's not a concern.
And one for you, Owen, how many recommendations do you think someone should aim to have on their LinkedIn profile?
Oh my gosh, tough question. It would definitely just depend where you're at in your career. I think if you're sort of mid-career, maybe aim for around 10, something like that. If you're just starting, maybe you're just finishing school or in university, maybe sort of try and think of 2 to 3 to start.
Okay. Well, we might just take it on to the next section, which is some resources we have to share with you. Now, we're going to be showing you a lot of links on the next few pages, but don't worry, because we've summarized them all for you in one handy scrolling website. So you can just scan that QR code that's on screen at the moment. You'll have access to all the resources, and it's the same QR code coming up on every page. So don't worry if you missed it, you'll get another chance to scan it. Now, Mike has put together a CV template covered in pro tips for best practice resume creation. So, Mike, do you want to tell us a little bit about the template that you're sharing with everyone today?
Yeah, fantastic. I don't know about you, but yeah, sometimes when I start creating a CV from scratch, it can be a bit hard to know what to prioritize, what to think about. So I've kind of looked through our Canva CV templates and picked out this template and how it's organized and shaped to really use that hierarchy and show what matters most. And then I've got, little tips in there, thoughts, considerations on how to actually coach you through putting the content in your CV. So this is a template, and hopefully that can be helpful for you.
If you're looking for more workshops like this one, check out canva.com/events, and you'll see our upcoming schedule of workshops and webinars, all free for our Canva community. So we'll just pop that link in the chat as well, but it's all in your handy resource. Make sure if you're wanting to learn more about Canva that you check out Design School, canva.com/design school, where we have heaps of courses and tutorials you can try out in your own time. And if you are a Canva lover and you're looking for advice and you love getting feedback from the community and you want to share your designs, do join our design circle. So that's our Facebook community group, facebook.com/groups/Canva design circle is the place for Canva lovers. And that is it from us. So we hope to see you at another Canva Live webinar very soon. I would like to say a big thank you to Owen for joining us from LinkedIn, and a big thank you to Mike as well. Thanks for coming on the call today.
Thanks all. Thanks for participating.
Thanks, everyone. Yeah, have a great week.